Hey guys, in this video I want to do something a little bit different to what I'd normally do. I want to do a tactical breakdown of one of the most embarrassing DayZ PvP deaths I think I've ever had in this game. This is inspired by Vigilante Gamer. He runs a YouTube channel where he breaks down tactics and strategies for dealing with the countless risks involved in playing DayZ, in terms of what can go wrong in certain situations. And in today's video, I want to break down my own mistakes in his format. So shout out to Vigilante Gamer. He's a legend. If you haven't seen his content, you need to go and check it out. Anyway, let's get started. Pretty embarrassed about this, but it's going to be a fun thing to break down, I think, especially for inexperienced players. So the backstory here is that I'd been making my way inland with a friend of mine the day before this happened. And I was pretty undergeared at this point. I had a double barrel shotgun with plenty of ammo, a pistol, and that's about it. I had plenty of food and medicine supplies and all of that, but I didn't have much to defend myself. I had a PU scope, I had plenty of 7.62 by 5.4 millimeter rimmed, I had a Mosin compensator. I was ready to go if I just found a Mosin, and that was the only thing that was on my mind on this particular day. And so after logging back in near Shakovka, I decided to loot the town of Shakovka, hoping that I would find a Mosin in the town. But as you'll see soon, things didn't go quite according to plan. So on this particular day, I decided to consciously apply the tactics and techniques that Vigilante Gamer teaches in his videos. I thought, why not take today's session a little bit more seriously than I normally would. I mean, normally I don't really care if I die, but on this particular day, I wanted to do everything I possibly could to stay alive and not be killed by another player. And so I started out conservative. I started out taking my time with everything, and I began by skirting around the town, getting a good vantage point on the town, clearing out the hills around town for looking out for snipers, making sure there were no other players around doing the same thing I was doing, trying to get a good view on Shakovka. Now Shakovka, for those of you who are not familiar with the town, is a town sort of in a valley surrounded by hills on 50% of the town. So 50% of the town has a great vantage point into town. The other 50% is downhill. So I got up real high, I had binoculars on me, I scoped into town to make sure there was no sign of any other players, no dead zombies, no aggro zombies, no obvious sign of players. The first thing I noticed when I scoped into town was a trapped zombie in a house. This made me suspicious that maybe someone else was around, and so I really took my time here. I sat here for a solid 3 or 4 minutes just watching the town, looking for any sign of movement. Now remember, I'm not looking for PvP here, I'm just trying to stay alive. So if I spotted another player or group of players, depending on their behavior, I might have disengaged, went to a different town, or I might have spoken to them if they looked friendly. But in this case, I didn't really want to interact with anyone. I just wanted my Mosin. I just wanted a goddamn Mosin. And anyway, we'll see what happens. So I spotted this trapped zombie. That had me highly suspicious and on alert. But it is possible for zombies to spawn inside houses. And so I wasn't paying too much attention to that once I spent enough time watching the town to make sure there were no signs of players actively running around. After spending a few minutes overlooking the town and being satisfied that I didn't see any players, I moved to a second vantage point closer to the town. The whole way there, I used concealment, I stayed behind trees, I used cover, I made sure that I was really hard to spot if any other players were looking for me the same way I was looking for them. Once I got to my second vantage point, I scoped into town. I still didn't see any signs of players. But anyway, I was paying attention to that stuff. I was looking for open door sheds, all of that. I even checked some of the car spawns in town to check if the bonnets were open, the doors were open, to see if players had been through and looted those. From what I could see, it didn't look like they had been looted. And so after a couple of minutes, this whole process took about 10 minutes of just overwatching the town. Also listening for gunshots nearby. Didn't hear anything. The whole town was silent. No sign of players. And I decided to move in to town to start looting and trying to find my elusive Mosin. Now I started my looting at the top of the town, and I expected to loot through the town and exit down into the lower valley where it was hard to get a vantage on me, and I was going to disappear into the hills and hopefully meet up with my mate later that day. And if I didn't find a Mosin, I would just move on to a different town and repeat this process. But as you'll see here, just after I looted the very first house in town, on the western side of town, I heard a gunshot very close to me in the mountains. And of course, I aggroed a zombie. I took out that zombie as quickly as I could. Regrettably, I wish that I didn't do that. I wish I maybe trapped that zombie in the house before running out. As you'll see in a moment, I believe that gave my position away. But anyway, and then I exited the town as quickly as possible back the way I came, which I knew was safe because I'd already scouted out those hills. I tried to run away in a direction where the land would obscure me, so that if that player did shoot at me or was close enough to spot me, that they wouldn't see me running the way I was running. I ran back up into the hills and got out my binoculars and began the whole process of overwatching again. Now normally, if I wasn't looking for PvP, I would just leave the town. I'd run away and continue my looting elsewhere. But on this particular day, I wasn't necessarily looking for PvP, but I wanted to test myself and my skills in situational awareness. And so I decided to stick around town and see if this player came to loot Shakovka, because if they shot nearby, there's a good chance that they would head into town next. So I ran back up onto the hill, found a good spot to sit in a tree with binoculars and just watch what happened in town. Now I sat here for a solid 10 minutes, just watching the well and other spots in town that I thought a player might pass through, so that I could see where they were heading and I could get an idea of how geared they were, how much of a threat they were, if they had their gun out, that sort of thing, or if they were just friendly and maybe they were just hunting. While I was overlooking, I heard another shot in the same direction as before, and this confused me a little bit. It sounded to me like a pistol, so maybe the player was hunting. I did hear animals nearby. I believe I heard sheep nearby, so it could have been that they were hunting animals. But after this second shot, I knew that there was a very, very good chance, since they were hanging around, that they were going to head into town. And so I got a little bit closer and tried to get a better angle on their direction so that I could hopefully see them moving either into town or in the surrounding area. And I could get an idea of what their intentions were, if they were geared and looking for a fight, or if they were just a freshie trying to survive. After 3 or 4 minutes, I didn't see any sign of the player, and I got a little bit impatient, and I figured maybe they had headed off in a different area. They weren't heading to Shakovka. But just as I was thinking that, and just as I was about to head down into town and continue looting, I spotted movement. And so I creeped up a little bit closer to get a better angle on the area that this player was moving around in. And sure enough, I spotted a player sprinting past me, pretty geared for this area of the map, with his gun out. I didn't get a very good look at him because I didn't have my binoculars out, but I could tell that he was geared. He had full military clothing on, a big backpack, more than one gun, and he had his rifle out. Now remember, I only have a shotgun and a pistol. I have plenty of ammo, but with a double barrel shotgun, you've only got 2 shots to end this. But anyway, because I had the jump on him, he didn't know where I was. I assume he saw my dead zombie, and this is why he's behaving this way. He seems nervous and paranoid, and he's clearing the town as he goes through it. But he has his back to me. He has no idea I'm here. So I have full control over this situation. I did take the time to look around and make sure that he was the only player around. It seemed he was solo. He was acting as if he was solo, and I couldn't see signs of any other players. So I was confident that this was a 1 versus 1 situation. I was also confident that this player was looking for a fight because he had his gun out. He was sneaking around. He clearly did not seem very friendly. And so I made the decision to engage with him based solely on the fact that I had the element of surprise. I was very, very confident that I had control over the situation, and so I moved in to get a good shot on this player. What? And all of that work was for nothing. Now you can hear in the tone of my voice how surprised I am that I just got killed. Obviously up until this point, when I was scouting out the town and I was looking out for this player, I expected that I could be killed at any moment. But once I made the decision to rush this player and I knew I had to jump, I was so confident that I was going to win this engagement that the thought of failure at that point never crossed my mind. I thought I had this down. And that was my biggest weakness in this situation, overconfidence. You can play everything right up until the very last moment, but if you're overconfident, all of that hard work can come undone in a matter of seconds. So what did I learn from all this? Let's break down the final moments in a little more detail. So I have full control over the situation. I can choose how to engage this player. They have no idea where I am. They suspect that I'm in town because of the dead zombie that I killed earlier. They're obviously clearing the town, taking their time, but I have the jump on them. I'm limited by the weapon I have, but I'm confident that I can take them. And so basically I rushed the whole situation. Rather than taking my time, I was overconfident that I could get this player. I missed my first shot. Then my second shot barely missed their head. They had a better close quarter weapon than me, and even though I had surprised them, they got the drop on me. So what could I have done better in this situation? How could I have handled it better? Well, first of all, I should have taken my time. I shouldn't have rushed the situation as much as I did. There were two different ways I could have better engaged the situation. The first is I shouldn't have hesitated when I saw him aiming through the door. I should have just ran at him, and I might have got the drop on him sooner. But I waited too long. He looked through the doorway and then moved around to the other entrance. And it was the fact that this player moved that spoiled my surprise attack. After missing my first shot, I don't think I made a mistake by trying to follow up with a second shot because buckshot at close range is still pretty lethal. I was still confident at this point that I could at least knock them unconscious if I landed a shot. But the way I rushed this player was terrible. It was basically a panic rush. I didn't expect to miss the first shot, and so when I was trying to take my second shot, I completely messed it up. While editing this video, I realized I actually did hit this player. You can see them bleeding here. And so I still made contact with them, but normally buckshot at close range would knock the player unconscious. Maybe the gun's been nerfed, I wasn't aware of that. Or more likely, I'm just a shit player. But at least I landed my first shot. Not sure what happened with the second shot. I could have run up and aimed over the log pile there and obstructed my character's body and being able to avoid exposing myself so dramatically. Alternatively, I could have leaned around the log pile and still got a better shot. I could have also aimed my gun, ADS'd, but this all happened so quickly. I'd already missed my first hipfire shot. I was in hipfire mode, and so I just stuck with hipfire. And normally I'm pretty good at hipfiring at close range, but in this case, I missed my final shot. I had no armor. This player had a SMG and just obliterated me. I could have also tried to run around the barn and take the player on, but the reason why I rushed this is because they had their back to me. I didn't really want to confront them from the front, and that was probably a good decision considering they had a laser beam in their hands. So fair play to this other player. They definitely deserved to kill me because I completely whiffed this whole thing. The moral of the story here is that it pays to take your time in DayZ. I did everything right leading up to this engagement to put all of the odds in my favor. Even though I was under-geared, I didn't have any armor or a decent weapon, but I did everything I could to put the odds in my favor, and then I ruined it at the last minute by rushing things. Now, the big thing in my favor was the element of surprise, and that is why I didn't back off after missing my first shot, which would normally be probably a better option than rushing a player close range like I did here, but I really had no other choice in this situation. I guess I could have also tried to talk to him, I could have tried to hold him up, but seeing how geared he was, I don't think that would have gone down very well. And so I guess the ultimate moral of this story is that it pays to be patient but also assertive. If I just made my decision sooner to engage this player, to rush this player once they were stationary, I might have had a better chance of ending this engagement alive instead of back on the coast. Anyway, the best man won in this situation. I completely screwed up everything. I had to jump on them. I scared the shit out of them, I'm pretty sure, based on their characters' reaction to my first shot. But they kept their composure and managed to take me down before I could even begin reloading my rifle. So kudos to them, well done. Another lesson learned the hard way for me, but at least I tried. I don't normally kill on sight in this game. I try to avoid it, but if I see a player sneaking around after hearing shots and being as geared as they are, clearly up to suspicious behavior, or at least seeing that they are so paranoid that they're not going to want to talk to me if they spot me first, I felt I had no other choice here but to try and get the jump on them, and it cost me my life. But oh well, there's always another, and we'll see how the next one goes. I hope you guys found this interesting, especially newer players, and I will speak with you in the next video. Take care and good luck with your own DayZ adventures. Oh, and make sure to check out Vigilante Gamer if you haven't already. His channel is epic.